Today we're going to talk about block rotations and why it is okay in the One Piece card game. I've already made a video talking about the ban list, so if you want to check that out, go check the channel down below. But today we're talking specifically right now about block rotations. These little numbers that are in the bottom right of every One Piece card you own, I have one right here. They're in the bottom left. Bottom left of every card you own. I don't know my directions. I'm the kind of guy who has to go like this whenever someone says left or right. So to start off, we're going to start off explaining what an actual block is and how it changes the formats, how rotations work, and everything like that. And then for the second part, we are going to talk about the people's fear. Basically, how people are worried they're going to lose all their value in their alt arts, how they feel like they're never going to be able to play their favorite leader, all those kind of things that creep up with the unknown. And we're going to explain that and ease your stress a little more. And then we're going to finish off with the video on explaining why block rotations are good and how they help the game and the longevity, allowing new players to join the game, making it a little more fair for new players, and all that jazz. So that starts with the block rotation right here, where OPO1 to OPO4 is block 1, OPO5 to OPO8 is block 2, and OPO9 to OP12 is block 3, OP13 to OP16 will be block 4. So in the next format, in April of next year, OPO1 to OPO4 will no longer be playable, meaning the play format will only be open from OPO5 to OP16 upon their releases. So OP13 will be playable 14, 15, 16. So we will be able to play 3 blocks at a time. Now, a lot of people are worried that all of the OPO1 to OPO4 cards will no longer be playable. That is not completely true. We're going to be talking about Magic and Pokemon here. We're going to start with Magic to give you an explanation on why it's not true that your cards won't be playable. So we look at a Magic. Here is Soul Ring, a very, very reprinted card. I think it's the most reprinted card in all of Magic. So these cards, we will have reprints in One Piece, right? In One Piece, they will reprint cards so that you can play them, and they'll reprint them in future formats. You know, your Staples, your Red Rocks, your Gravity Blades, your Nami Searcher, all these cards will be reprinted. This card specifically is one that I'm going to be talking about today because it's the one they mentioned in their video. If you want to see the full video, obviously you can see it in the bottom left, and I will try to link it below if they give a little bit of an explanation, but not a deep dive. In their video, it kind of felt like you were just expected to know what a block rotation was, and I think that was the issue, is actually just two people who really already know card games very well explaining what a block rotation is, as if everyone already knows what it is. So many people are new to One Piece. So this card was reprinted in OPO5, so you will be able to use this in the future formats because it was already reprinted. They will reprint cards in future sets, like your rares and such will fill out the future sets. They'll have new alt arts, new different things. There'll be rares, there'll be commons, uncommons, certain cards that the One Piece card game does feel like is healthy for the game. Cards that they think actually have advantage and have a good long-standing relationship with the card game. And it helps them from having to always just ban hammer every card, you know, like Gecko Moria, how it just got the ban hammer, which we went over again earlier today on the whole banning thing. So in block 1, you have this card, Nami. This card's been reprinted. It will be playable in the future. So it will not lose its value on the playability side, but this is a collector's item. So we talk about the playability. That's to talk about this, how Magic does it. Magic will reprint the card, but you can still use the old common. You could use the beta edition common, or uncommon right there. You can use this one from Commander Lord of the Rings. You could use this one from Commander Lord of the Rings. A lot of Lord of the Rings here. You could use the Judge promo, the Unlimited. There's so many different versions, and you can use any of them. You don't have to buy the new version. You don't have to buy the latest one. You can always just use the old version if you have it, if you want to, if that's what you want to do. And that comes back to the Nami. The Nami is a rare. If they reprint it in the future in the set as a rare, you will be able to use the Nami. And you can use the old version if you don't want to have to go out and buy the new version. It's not something to sink your money into. It's not forcing you to buy new cards if they reprint something. Because if they don't reprint something and they're printing something new, you already have to buy it. So there's no issue with that. If it's not a reprint, you already have to buy it. If you already have the old version and they do reprint it, just use that. Like, it's not something you have to put extra money into. You're not losing anything. It's not just, oh, I have to go buy a new version. No, just use the old one. It's perfectly okay. Now, people are worried about value. We're going to talk about value next. Let's look at Pokemon. Pokemon is on a block rotation. Being one of the most competitive card games out there, the most sought after, the most collectible card game. I mean, I literally sell Pokemon cards full-time. It's my full-time gig. Trust me. I know about Pokemon. Team Up. We look at Team Up right here. First off, I'm not a scalper. I don't even buy, sell, steal product. All I have are some Celebrations ETBs before we get to any of that slander on my name. Anyways, go back to this. They're in the Scarlet and Violet block, so you can only play cards from Scarlet and Violet. This is Sun and Moon. Sun and Moon hasn't been playable for 3 blocks, like 3 formats basically. So in Sun and Moon, you have these very expensive cards, the alternate art, because they're just sought after. So we're talking Pokemon as a relative source into One Piece, the biggest, most long-standing anime and manga, the best shonen out there, the most long-standing, the most known anime, the most relevant main character ever, from one of the best artists and writers ever, Eiichiro Oda. So, I mean, when you look at this, the value will still be there for those cards that don't get reprinted. Cards that you'll never see again will still hold value. Like the old leaders, everything, people are going to want those someday. It might not be right now. It might not be time to cash out. But one day those cards will be very, very expensive. Yes, there will always be cards that are cheaper in the set. I mean, if we look into this team up set, we go back one, you look right here, there's a Gengar that's $550. So it's not just, this is like your manga rare basically, but it's all just alt arts. They're literally all alt arts right here. 540 or 550, I mean. This is 360. Like, these cards are expensive. And you go through, I mean, there's more expensive cards in here. There's tons of good cards in here. This Gengar Secret right here is $165 for a secret, a rainbow foil. That's all it is a rainbow foil. This one's $120. This one's $120. Like, this is just the regular Gengar and Mimikyu GX. Yes, it's very hard to pull, but it's similar to just an SR basically. Like, it's an alt art. This is kind of their alt art size of things. It's like, it's not something you need to worry about. You're not going to lose all your money or your value because you see it with Pokemon. I mean, this thing's been out for how long? I mean, at one point it was $35 and it was unplayable. $35 is pretty good for a card. Now it's sitting at around $100. Well, this is also light played. I didn't even think about that. This is not near mint price. Let's look at near mint real quick to give you a little bit better idea. But yeah, we've seen this before. This card's been $110, and it's not because it's playable. It's because it's collectible. It's literally just because it's collectible. It's been down at $60 and then back up to $120. I mean, this is just how markets are. You see it with new cards we already have in One Piece. You already have the Cavendish, the Sabo. Sabo got reprinted. Nobody complained about that. Nobody complained about Sabo losing all its value, going from a $30 SR to a $5 SR. Let's actually look at what Sabo is. What is Sabo worth nowadays? I mean, it's kind of hard to say. Like, you know, Sabo's down bad even. You look at these, even the alt arts are down to $115 here for the Buddy Battle or whatever, and then the $45 for this one, and the SR's down to $15 because it's getting reprinted, guys. So you see things like this already fluctuate. So you're not losing value, and it's just up in the air on what's actually going to keep value. It's based off just a card game. So if things aren't playable, yeah, they do lose value, but your alt arts and stuff, you don't have to stress about it. You don't have to worry about all your alt arts going down. I mean, this thing, it's beautiful. It's an amazing SP. You're not losing all your value. I also have this playable card as a relative source to be similar to the Sabo. I mean, you see this in Pokemon as well, where this card was not playable. It was playable for a little bit, and then it was not as playable, and now it's super playable. Like, it's literally just how card games work. So your lower SRs and EXs or whatever, if you compare the two, I mean, yes, they will lose value when they're not playable, but your bigger cards, your relatively, more important cards, your hard to get cards, even people are worried about the starter deck stuff, like the OPO or starter deck 7 Linlands and stuff, man, those will still have their value because those are hard to get. It's about how easy is it to actually get the resource, the character, whatever you need. I mean, it's a whole different beast, guys. We're not just going to lose all your money. You'll see it here with the alt art. Obviously, the alt art changes because Goldingo is not a big Pokemon. It's not one of the most sought after Pokemon, but you see it go up with relative ease when it's playable. And then you can see it goes through the same thing. It was $30. It dropped down to $15. Now it's back up to $32. Like, it just changes over time based off playability. And so you just need to keep that in mind. It already happens in today's card games with the values fluctuating. Right here is basically the explanation that a reprint and the old one will still be able to be used in the future. 2026 onwards, reprinted cards with the latest block will have the latest block icon, but you can use both. Okay, that explains that. This is basically explaining that these are the two blocks that will be usable and playable. Let's give you an actual explanation, though, on why it will be okay about your old leaders. Finish off, we're going straight face cam here. So, a lot of people are worried you will not be able to use old leaders, and I understand that because I'm a red-green lost simp. You can see I got a PSA 10 up there. I have my actual alt leader that I use for my deck. Like, I get it. I love the OG stuff. But let's be real. If you're bringing that to a tournament, you're not trying to win anyways. Like, every time I brought that, I'm in the bottom barrel. I'm down bad. I'm sitting down there literally licking toes. It's so horrible. I'm dog water when I play those decks. Yes, it's fun, and it's cool to, like, know life a certain deck and everything, but let's be real. On a competitive scene, which is what this is based off of, that's the only thing it affects. Your tournaments and everything locally, yes, it will affect, but there will be other formats. So this is where we get into the new formats. the new structure, which is also based off Magic. Because Magic has a lot of different formats where you can use old cards, banned cards, whatever. There's unrestricted formats for One Piece, and there will be more unrestricted formats, I'm sure, in the future. And there will be formats that have all blocks available. So just know that some of your local shops may have these events, some of the Bandai Fest may have these events, some of the side tournaments for the big events will also have these kinds of events where you can play any of your old leaders if you want to take them on a competitive scene. If you want to play locally and just have fun, you just say, hey Tony, you want to play a game of One Piece? Yeah bro, I got you. Okay, cool. Can I play my old leader from OPO2 that's dog water now and has no good new support? Yeah, I don't care bro, let's play some One Piece. It's that simple. You'll still be able to play it. It's not like you can never play these again or never use them. And if you have the alt art leaders, they still hold value. They're beautiful. They're sought after. You have to think about this. And if you don't know other TCGs, it makes it so much harder to understand because I obviously know the prices of all the old cards, all the new cards for Pokemon. I mean, other TCGs, mainly Pokemon. I mean, let's be real. I really only sell Pokemon. But, I mean, I also sell One Piece, but that's a whole different beast. Anyways, if you look at these old things, people are doing master sets and everything. Like, these cards have so much room to grow in value, and this only helps that. It only helps people not using them and that they're not as accessible. That will up the value, especially if you're a player who already has them. Now, if you don't have them and they get reprinted, then you can use them. So on the competitive scene, all this does is just make it where new players are available to join, and you, as an older player, if you are an older player or if you're not, if you're a new player, it puts you on a level ground where you don't have to know all 20,000 cards they've printed for the card game. You only have to know 2 blocks worth, and 2.5 to 3 blocks depending on where we are in the format. So anyways, that was my quick little explanation for this. I hope it makes sense. I hope it explains that the reason they do blocks is to keep a level playing field, inviting new players to play competitively, because without that, someone who played in the beginning will still be winning at the end. That one person will have so much knowledge over the card game that they're building decks based off of and being able to play at a relative high level because they have the more knowledge. Now it invites new players who don't need to have the knowledge of the old stuff, who will get it over time, but it invites them to play competitively. You can get your friends into the card game. It's less complex. It makes it easier. And there will be new formats. They will still hold value, so you don't have to worry so much. The block rotation will not kill the game. It won't hurt you. And it doesn't start until April. You get to use your alt arts in your decks for 2 years, which at least 2 years, sometimes 3, depending on when you get it and stuff, sometimes 1.5 years. At the end of the day, that's a long time. You could literally be homeless by that time. You could be filthy rich by that time. You could be out of school, you could have a new job, you could live somewhere else, you could have a wife or a husband or a daughter or a cat. I don't know, I just looked at my cat when I said that. Remember, 2 years is a long time in a world that goes so fast. Slow down a little bit, understand, it will be okay. I just kind of rambled a lot about this, but I hope any of it did make a little bit of sense. If not, leave a comment. I'll explain as best I can. I'll see you in the next one. Join the Discord, subscribe, like. I'll see you later. Peace.